Trading the foreign exchange market carries high risk and may not be suitable for all investors. Trading on margin, utilizing leverage can carry an even higher level of risk that can lead to a complete loss of investment funds. So before deciding to trade the foreign exchange market or using any of our software alert products, you should carefully and diligently consider your personal investment objectives, level of experience, and risk tolerance. There is a possibility that you could potentially sustain significant loss. You should not invest any capital or trade that you cannot afford to lose. It is your responsibility to be aware of and understand all risks associated with foreign exchange trading and to seek professional advice from an independent certified financial advisor if you have any doubts. Auvoria Prime does not exercise trading authority over your trades. You and you alone exercise discretionary trading authority over every trade.
My name is Steve Vetterl. I am the firm CMA. Currently, I am a recipient and a victim of the Delta variant, which has absolutely ripped through our house in the last 5 days. As many of you have heard, many were sick after the AP event. Thank God it hit us on the plane ride back to California, and we have been down and out. So with some of the best vitamins known to man already in this house, at 5 days of 10-hour plus sleep, I still feel like crap. So risk management note to everybody out there, and make sure you can hear myself and see my screen. Q&A window is open, by the way. So let's get into it here. See how long it can last without a coughing attack. All right. So news, really nothing. So I talk a lot about in August, typically latter parts of the months of the summer, all around the whole world. Really isn't a lot of news that comes out. Jobs numbers were big on Friday, and was almost 1 million jobs created. So no surprise we saw a rise in the dollar, which put a little bit of strain on all the other majors against it. Looking at what's going on as far as next week, we have CPI report next Wednesday. It's August 11th. Keep in mind this whole week starts tomorrow. Let's take a look at the calendar here. Thank you. I've been down and out like this with any kind of viral infection in a couple of decades. So next week starts Sunday tomorrow, all the way through the 13th, ending on the 14th. The only news-based activity is any worthy note, which isn't really that big of a deal, quite frankly. So technically, there's really no news next week. So from a news risk standpoint, I see nothing. Doesn't mean something can't happen, but typically doesn't until the books and everything start to get closed out by a lot of international funds, mutual funds, so forth. Many of those books get closed out on October 31st. So it's not a calendar year ending by a lot of investment funds, which is the opposite of corporate balance sheets, right? Many of them have a calendar year end. This one has a fiscal year end of typically December 31st. So I know the Fidelity, Vanguard, a lot of big fund families do all that. Okay, so enough of a calendar. I don't really see anything else of note. Jump on the charts. S&P new highs. Looking at daily charts, tradingview.com. Look at the Qs. Know that some of you trade. Everything's just been stair-stepping up, especially since all the free cash flow has been rolling in for many, many years in equities land, pushing all markets up. Take a look at the UK 100, same thing. Daily chart, right near the highs. DAX, almost new highs. S&P new highs. Stock 600, new highs. This one's the closest in its organization, cap weight wise, to the S&P 500. Let's take a look at the dollar. No surprise, here's that move. It's all based on a better, at least an assumed to be better operating economy and getting some of the bums off of unemployment and back to work. And then looking at moving forward in terms of the price going forward, I think it's going to be real interesting. Again, another visitation, this whole area. I believe there's a lot of stops building up here. This whole zone, just got to believe there's some stops. If we go back up and test this area again, which all the triple top people was saying, and they don't break, it goes lower. there's a fair amount of solace to that comment. And if we do see a higher, notice we will more than likely see some sort of lower low. And then you can have 1, 2, and arguably a third peak. As long as somebody or a group of somebody's in institutional land are defending that area, we're probably going to take a visitation back down to the lows. Biggest piece of support right under 90. And then the ultimate edge of the cliff there, 89.30, 30-ish area. Let's take a look at the euro. This is, see the whole chart. Actually, I'm going to take a look at a weekly on this first. The weekly chart wise, we're on support. I mean, this is it right here. Do note that ideally, I think the last piece of support before we get into this zipper, it's just a protracted move through an area. It's called a zipper. Low volume nodes, you probably heard me say that in the past. If anything like that just means, and usually they're going to go for this area at some point, but that's 100%, especially since this is a currency. It depends on another pair. It's going to depend heavily on whether that dollar breaks through this area on the previous chart. If it does, I think there's going to be some real big moves. So definitely want to keep in mind, at least in terms of the bottom or support area, it's right here at this 116-ish area. It's basically at the 1600 area. Just below that, there's a bunch of support lines as well. So, I mean, that's it. Anything breaks through that and spends some time below this after a day or two of break, I'm not long. Same thing with the dollar. Breaks above those areas and holds above those top areas. Again, looks like a couple of you just joined us. Jump back to the daily. We really don't want to see this dollar anywhere above about 93.50 for any duration of time. So if it does spend that time and then goes above it, I do think there's going to be some stop runs, and it could send this almost $1 higher. It should be a big move. Everything else is going to be bananas on the other side of this. So could be totally wrong, as we often talk about in risk management. So you always got to think about how you're wrong. Yes, it was good seeing you, Frank, at the event. Thank you. I hope you didn't get sick, my man, because a lot of us got robbed. Robbed the last couple of days in beautiful Orlando. Any case, take a look at cable. So same thing here on daily, right under 140 area. It's really support. Resistance up here. This is actually a pretty solid support. This area down here corresponds with where I think there's a lot of stops building up, obviously, or may have already built up and continue to get larger. Ultimate support here, 3620-ish area. CAD, nothing much going on here. So we had our ultimate sort of crescendo move higher, just under 28. We moved back down, really beginning to tighten up. Look at the weekly on this. The weekly's got a support right here now. Look at that. 1.2474. Make a note of it. USD JPY. Still stuck inside the range. SHEP. Now this is surprising. Only because of the magnitude of the move. Now, again, dollar rallied, right? So no surprise. But notice this one was pretty big. got close to those Bollinger Band stretches, right? And then boom, right back up. These lines really just to the credit of the developer that introduced these to me and helped me set them up here. Things have just been spot on. AUD, USD, tight range, coiling. A lot of these are coiling. Hell, I could say that almost every currency in the mix is that they're coiling. But this spent its time under this whole 73 area. CAD Swiss. If we take a look at Euro GBP, notice it's the first time from a daily perspective in, I should say, since the 5th of April, we've broken below those lines. Not as strong of a support, much stronger support. We finished below it for the first time. Is that going to mean anything? I don't know. Just be aware of it. For the first time ever, not ever, for the first time in a long while. We're down in the lower area. Let's see, GBP. Let's take a look at the NEO currency. Been a little tougher for NEO, as you guys can imagine. It's just changing a lot of direction here. I don't follow this one probably as closely as I should, because, and to the question I just got, I wasn't trading it all week. I was mostly in bed. Thank God for my team in the office fielding the client calls, and the fact that it's a slow summer week, so nobody's freaking out when Federal's not at the helm. It's been kind of volatile, you know. This is one of those great examples of you have software that's just not a martingale strategy that has the flexibility to ride the trends up, down, up, you know, because there's been a bunch of change trend direction, at least as far as a couple of days down, a couple of days up. Notice the last 2 days have been dojified with these two dojis, which are indecision candles. It's the first time we've seen these since right here. And before that, a while. But these two led us higher. These two with a bunch of rejections, fairly decent rejections. Sorry, we couldn't be a hammer reversal, and then they dojied out. So more than likely, we're probably going to go back down here and spend some time basing around in here, which is good because NEO can trade bouncing around within support and resistance ranges. AUD CAD for the question I just got. It's daily chart I always start with. Aussie Canadian. Ultimate support down here, 91.61. Let's double check that on the weekly. Nothing on the weekly here as far as support. We're below it. GBP our favorite crazy currency. I don't trade it. The question I got on gold. This should not come as a surprise. I know a few have asked about this to me personally in DMs. Why is this like this? Well, every time we have a stronger based economy in the US or some sort of professional, and by professional, I mean somebody that the market really puts faith in their opinion, right? Like James Bullard. Non-voting, used to be voting member of the Fed, very smart cookie. He sees transitory inflation, right? And every time we have these really big moves in gold, this shouldn't surprise a lot of people because we're really over levered in gold. I mean, there's some funds out there that are just wicked levered in this thing. And then you have a huge move like this where it's mostly just basically they're barbecuing the longs on this trade. But notice it stopped right at support level. So in this one, you always want to take a look at a weekly chart. It's real important to always know where these levels are, especially on something like gold and oil. We're at it. I mean, this is it. 1762 short-term solid support on a weekly chart. We're at it. resistance up here at 1906. You know, dollar starts heading higher again. It's going to crash through here and get down to this area. You know, I'd be interested in being a buyer down here, client portfolios, because we've lightened up dramatically on this huge run that we had. I'd be interested in being a buyer again if we can hold this area. So I actually want it to crash and break down to at least this area, and then just as you like to see me talk about time, just to the trend sideways, being needed to build a base and some sort of cup with handle or some other formation before it breaks out again. Then I'm more interested in being a buyer, may even add to the position if we do get some sort of breakout. I think we got a lot of technical work to do though in order to get to that point. Let's double check monthly charts just to make sure we're not missing anything here. And I always go over to GLD as well to see the entire move in support standpoint. But if we drop out to the daily, so we don't really care about what everything 8th of April back. Is that right? All right. So let's just go to 8th of April. Is that no? Yeah, that should be good. So note this red line right here, value area low from a long-term perspective is basically right at just under 1,600 an ounce. If you don't know how to do the math on this, I just did it for you. So, and there's also a support there from there's a bunch of stuff here. So we got the squeeze zone. For the question I just got, this squeeze zone indicator. It's one of Dassan's. By the way, guys, you really need to, if you're not listening to Dassan's call using Variable, tell you, man, he's a good guy. Got a really good chance to to talk with him. We didn't, because I was really beginning to feel this hard on Monday. We were gonna go out and grab some beers because he's interested in starting a hedge fund and doing some other things from my past. I've had some experience there and just get some really interesting ideas on, you know, trading equities and stuff, all algo based. So I'll be able to hopefully bring something to the table for everybody, and or suggest additional trading rooms based on, you know, equities and options and trading some other stuff. Lots of stuff out there to trade. There just have to be currencies. It can be gold, can be indices, the options. Let's take a look at yes, I think that's pretty much everything. Here's the coinage for the question I just got. Actually, before let me go back. Let me, as I try and clear the fog out of my head, here is the Euro Australian dollar. So back inside the range, which puts us, argue with not the best resistance overhead, quite frankly, but the 1.6068 area all the way up to spot 6186 area. Remember, always look at these as zones, not initial targets. Let's take a look at the weekly though. Now that is showing resistance on the weekly chart. And I'll even, it's gonna have to have the whole data set. Doesn't really change much, has it? Monthly. Long-term perspective, look at that. You can see the center point and damn near the value area high from a volume standpoint. Although I oftentimes will dissuade folks from paying much attention to volume, which isn't really brought into any decent play until about probably 2009. Don't pay as much attention to this volume because, you know, many of these institutions have completely changed how they're trading, and they're not going to be defending it based on some position they took 10 years ago. I don't care how long term the fund is. This is more shorter term stuff. That's why I typically don't look at these on monthly charts. So on a weekly, you just want to enclose, or even daily for that matter, you just want to enclose the recent volume. Looking back, three and a half years, right? Value area high. Look, it still hasn't changed much. It's up here. Similar from a volume standpoint, most of the executions, at least the 70% of the value area high, was at this 64.50-ish area. Center point being the volume point of control, spot 6280 area. So if that thoroughly confused you, that'll hopefully motivate you to watch some of my previous presentations on this and or see all the info that I put in the Telegram channel. Yes to a number that have posted. It's great meeting you guys all. Got a chance to meet Dasan. You know, it was really crazy that I heard that, you know, obviously the event from a attendance standpoint probably should have been 5 or 6 times higher than it was. And I get it because with the exception of one individual, I think almost everybody overseas never made it. And it's crazy. That's all I gotta say. One gentleman made it, but it took him a long time. A lot of people just never were able to get on and travel. So I think at some point that's going to change. You guys will get a chance to see it live, and it'd be a much bigger event. But surprisingly enough, even with the Delta variant absolutely raging through Florida, unbeknownst to probably a lot of us, right? There's where Stevie didn't exercise any risk management. He wound up getting torched for the last 5 days. But what are you going to do? Ethereum for the question I just got. Actually, you know what? Let me do the Bitcoin thing. Sorry about that. I'm kind of losing it here. Remember what the hell I'm doing. Stuff's really weird because I'm not really on any heavy meds, but your memory and the ability to just focus on simple stuff like driving a car takes like tons of effort. Yeah, Daver. Man, I got to tell you, he's the man. What's that country he's from? It's not Cyprus, right? It's the one that's right off the coast of Italy. Never get the name of that country right. I always want to call it, Croatia. I always want to call it Cyprus. I failed my geography. Smart cookie he is, man. I'll tell you. Very rare do I get an opportunity to meet somebody as good as he is. Wish him and all his team the best. Anyway, coinage. Now, the Bitcoin folk have been awoken and now consider themselves to be triple bottomed here, arguably twice down. And this is our hard support here. So typically what happens in these, and I don't know if it's going to happen here, you have a lot of what they call HODLers, right? Which I don't even have in my nomenclature because I don't really believe in praying to whoever your almighty is that you're eventually something you put a lot of money in goes up, right? It's not a strategy. It's the absolute opposite of risk management. But for those claiming victory buying here, typically what happens, again, I could be wrong, right? Is that goes in. I saw this just many, many times play out with you name the tech stock in the last two wrecks, where it'll come back. Volumes weren't that great. Suck a few more and start paying attention to volume. Wait for here, and then the big traders just came in and just started selling hand over fist and went whoosh, back down. Hey, I hope I'm wrong. For everybody that's long, I hope I'm wrong. But I had more than several people come up to me at the event and just thank me. I was joking around about the Cuban stars thing, right? That's actually a fact. But I had probably 6 or 7 people come up to me and say, "Man, thanks. You completely saved my ass." And I had way too much money in Bitcoin because many more buyers up here. So are the ones that were buyers here and that took some profit off the table, as I'd mentioned. You want to let a chart pattern play out. Now, the really pushing a chart pattern crypto folks on whatever media will say this is the cup with handle. This is not a correct cup with handle pattern. It's poor. It shows distribution in. So if you're a William O'Neill fan, as I am, man's still alive in his 80s. We got to love him. He brought us many of the patterns in a fantastic publication called Investors Business Daily. All right. Let's take a look at the weekly here. Yeah, really nothing is showing weekly. All the way down there at 10K as far as volume. If we include just the data from where it breaks into the upper range, which is what, the 1st of January, so it's damn near the first day of the year. That's close enough. So yeah, we spent a lot of time bouncing around that center point of volume that was executed, and then we went above it. This was encouraging, by the way, that we got above that and then we had some volume. What was not encouraging, see this right here? First rejection off of was now a support level, arguably maybe weak. We had declining volumes after that execution, or after that day. So you can see here we had let me make this a little large so you better see what the hell I'm talking about. All right. So as we came up to this area, and again, all these volume discussions are always predicated upon the simple fact that I trust the data and that it is aggregated coming in from Bitstamp, right? Still remains to be seen though. But let's just give them the benefit of the doubt for analysis purposes. But risk management, I am always suspect of data, unless it's coming out of the CME or the Eurex, which is basically owned by the CMA. I usually don't trust the data in any kind of derivatives land other than option data, CBOE, on equities or indexes, and futures markets. So with this one, you had a pretty good rejection, but it came right back the next day and they shot at it. I would have loved to see the volume here higher than the previous day. Doesn't mean it completely takes it off the table. It just tells you that big, whoever you want to call these individuals, institutional whales, whatever you want to call them, the volume just dropped off. And the volume, and a lot of people will be saying, well, you have increasing volume here. That's true. So as we came down, we had increasing volume. I think this is probably just the people that are, owned much higher, and they wanted to, try and get out some semblance of flat, which we weren't quite at yet. And then you had volume come up as we came into this area. So I just consider, when I look at a rally like this, everything is objective, obviously, but if it's an equities rally, a commodities rally, if this is a chart of oil, I look at everything with the same skepticism, and I want them to sort of play out and choose. Now, in all fairness, you anytime you have any decent rally in crypto, all the shills and social media and fintech and wherever else that seem to be everywhere these days, and they're all experts with 1 million followers, they come out and their chorus grows louder. And I think that's, fake. Ethereum, same thing here, but we've made a much greater move towards getting towards the, it's not really the best head and shoulders pattern, but you kind of see like this little neckline here. We came right up against it. Was rejected off that level, mostly probably just because of the move we've made. Up over 60%, 70% off the bottom there. So it's pretty big. Weekly chart, if we can. Nothing volume wise to see, nothing. Very cool. I think 37 minutes is about my capacity, folks. So I'm going to take my sorry ass back to bed. Anybody's got any questions? Save for next week, because what I'm going to do, provided I'm still alive, and I sound like a whiny child, don't I? So my wife's like, she's like, how do you big, strong Italians get anything done? You're all a bunch of whining children. It's basically true. But the presentation I did in Orlando was on the holy grail of trading. Some of you saw it. I'm actually making a couple of adjustments to some of the slides, and I'm going to do the presentation next Saturday. So say a prayer for Stevie that he's better and he's not dead. Although my kids are always freaking out when I say that. Just got to be prepared, right? Any case, everybody have a great week. Do not get the Delta variant, because I'll tell you, this shit is no joke. And I was always the first one to laugh in the face of it, and this virus is laughing last. All right, guys, be good. Have some patience, because I know a whole bunch of the team at Auvoria just got snapped with this. So, especially in technology, they'll win in parts of the team. So just have some patience, as hopefully everybody gets through this with no problem. Other than that, have a great week, everyone.